Wife's long affair with my friend ruined. When I catch her red-handed and expose everything by printing their secret. Messages so my wife 26F call her Mia. Cheated on me 27M with a friend of mine. 27M call him Jack for the story's sake. A bit of backstory: we met when I was 22 at another friend's wedding. She was a good friend of the bride and I the groom, and they sat us at that table so we would get together. When I first seen her, I was completely taken back by how beautiful she was, and when she sat down and we began to talk, we found out we had a lot of things in common. We clicked instantly. We talked for a while, the dinner, and took to the dance floor. We danced and drank through the night. We ended up kissing in the middle of the dance floor, and when we pulled away, our friends, the bride and groom, came up to us and asked what was up between us. They were really excited to play matchmaker. We just shrugged it off and carried on with our night. We left not exchanging numbers, but about a week later, I got a text from her asking me out. Bride gave her my number. I, of course, said yes, and it turned into a relationship. The relationship was great. Other than small arguments, we never really fought, and it was never anything really serious. I eventually asked her to marry me about 2 years into US dating, and we were married less than a year later. We were married for a little more than a year when it all came crashing down on me just before our first anniversary. There were little things that were irritating me. She became more guarded of her phone. Girls' nights became more frequent, and our sex life was almost non-existent. I had brought this up on multiple occasions, but was brushed off, and that I'm letting my insecurities get to me. She would continue go on as if what I felt and tried to communicate didn't matter to her, so I became colder and colder. I stopped giving her a goodbye kiss as I leave for work, and unless it was something important, we hardly spoke. One night while she slept, I took her phone and laptop and skimmed through her texts, emails, and messenger apps and found nothing. And from reading stories on here, I checked her car. I grabbed her keys and looked in her car and found a second phone. I knew in that instant what was going on, but I wanted all the evidence. For when I call her out, I didn't want her to say something like it had only happened once or anything stupid like that. I looked through the phone and found only one number. I read through every message. I connected the phone to my computer and printed out every message and every photo and spent the night researching divorce lawyers. I spent hours of my day in my at-home office reading bios of lawyers and found one that I liked and emailed him, but as it was a Saturday, he wasn't in the office. I then wanted to know who the guy was, so I grabbed my phone, typed the number I wanted to call, and pretend I'm Spectrum, because who doesn't have Spectrum? But Jack's contact popped up. It took me a minute to put two and two together, but when I did, I blew up. I was yelling and cursing in my office, and my wife opened the door to check on me, but when I see her, I told her to get the F out. She closed the door and went to our room. I had never cursed at my wife or raised my voice above a normal volume. All of day, I left my office. I was just silently raging, just glaring at the wall. I called one of my friends' groom from the wedding and tell him I need to go for a drink and asks if he'll come with me. He must have heard something in my voice because he asked if I was okay. I told him I wasn't, and I really need to drink. So without word, I took all the printouts and left to go to the bar. I arrived first, ordered 4 shots of Jack and a beer. I was on my last shot when my friend, call him Ted, arrived and asked what's going on. I told him straight out Mia is cheating. He gave me sympathy, and I asked if he wanted to know with who and told him it was Jack. He became visibly irritated. He was the one that introduced me to Jack, and all he could say was I'm sorry over and over. Jack and I were never super close. We wouldn't ask one another to hang out, but if we see each other at a get-together, we were friendly. I told Ted don't mention this to anyone, as I had just found out, and I haven't even spoken to Mia or a lawyer yet. I asked him not to tell his wife, and if she asked what was wrong with me, to say I'm having problems at work. He agreed. We drank and talked for most of the night. Then I called an Uber and went home around 3 a.m. It was the first time I looked at my phone since I called Ted, and there was missed calls, a bunch of texts, all from Maya asking me where I was, when I'd be home, and if I was okay. I got home and she was asleep on the couch. I just walked up to our bedroom and went to sleep. I woke up with her in the bed, so I got dressed and left the house. I went to go pick up my car and go to my office and buried myself in work for the day and went back home around 10 p.m. To my surprise, my wife was there to greet me, and she told me she had made me dinner. She asked if I wanted her to heat it up. I told her no and went to bed. She followed soon after asking what's been wrong with me. I told her to leave me alone and that I wanted to sleep. She kept pestering me. Eventually, I snapped and yelled me a stop. I trying to sleep go away. The next morning, I received an email from the lawyer asking to meet later in the day, and I confirmed and got ready for my day. I went downstairs to leave, and Mia had made breakfast asking to talk. I made a small plate and sat down. She started by saying I've been acting different and going on and on about how I changed, and she wants to know why. I told her work has been stressful and soon it would be all over. I finished up and told her I've got to go. I went to my office and counted down the minutes to go meet the lawyer. When I left, I told my assistant I'm going out to lunch with a client. My wife would call my work sometimes, and left. The meeting with the lawyer went well, and I handed over all I had gathered on her. And the lawyer had told me, well, I'm sorry for all that's going on, but I'm happy you gathered all this information. You see, we live in a default state, so your wife has no claim on most of your money. I told him I didn't even think about that. I was just thinking I've got to divorce her as soon as possible. He asked to keep the evidence, but I told him I prefer you to just make copies, as I haven't told my wife I knew yet, and I don't want to hear her excuses. He agreed and had his assistant make copies. I asked when she will be served with papers. He told me about 2 weeks. I then thanked him and left. I went home to confront my wife. When I arrived, she wasn't home, so I called her. No answer. Called again. No answer. I texted her. I don't give a F if you're writing Jack. Right now, get home. We need to talk low. And behold, she calls me not a minute later asking what I was talking about. All I told her was get home now. She arrives about 15 minutes later, and I said to her, wow, look at that, 15 minutes. That's about the same distance between here and Jack's, isn't it? She looked at me dumbfounded. I gave her a minute to gather herself, but she was just look at me, and I said, well, nothing to say. She tried to deny and gaslight me, and I let her continue on. She worked herself up and started to insult me. I slammed my fist on the table to shut her up and pulled out the evidence at first and showed it from the side and said, look at this mountain of things I gathered on you. Then I showed her each printout at a time. She then tells me to stop and started to cry. She tried to apologize and tells me she loved me. I said, honey, what happened to that energy you had before? You were so adamant on degrading and insulting me just a minute ago. She tried to hug me and tell me how sorry she is. I put my hand out and told her, don't touch me. She says, we'll go to the bedroom and do whatever I like. I looked her deep in her eyes and told her, sweetheart, I will never touch you again. Do you want to know who else has these photos and messages? My lawyer. I'm divorcing you now. Get a bag, gather your clothes, and get the F out of my house. That was 3 days ago, and I haven't heard from her. I'm sorry about how long this is, and if there are any spelling errors, I'm curious to those have been where I'm at. What can I expect from here? Thank you for reading update 1. After I posted the first part of this, you all have given me a ton of advice, so I followed most of it. This morning, I planned on doing a bit of damage control of my life, so I scheduled an appointment with my doctor to get checked for STDs, and I have that appointment in 2 days. Next, I started contacting all the people close to me, my father and a few friends. They all have been really supportive, offering their own advice and asking if I need help with anything. But as I got this crap on lock, I declined. I then started to contact her family. I sent a text to her mom and dad thanking them for allowing me into their family and that I was grateful for all that they had done for me. But Mia and I are getting divorced and that I would miss them terribly. Not really. They were very suffocating, and while they are great people, I'm happy I no longer have to deal with it. I then told them if they had any questions, feel free to ask. I didn't hear back from them for a while, so I moved on to Mia's sister. This kind of hurt because her sister and I were good friends, and I knew this would mess up that friendship. I texted her, hey, I'm sorry to have to text you this, but Mia and I are going to get a divorce, and I wanted you to know I want to thank you from day one. You accepted me as a brother. I will be around if you ever need anything from me. Around the time I sent the text, her parents responded back. I'll type up how the conversation went. Parents, we are so Sorry to hear this. What happened? Why? Hasn't Mia said anything to us? Mia has been in at least a year-long affair. I suspect it started before our wedding. I'm unsure why she hasn't reached out, but I think you should call her. She left the house. I figured she would have gone. To you parents, no, we haven't heard from her. We'll call her. Thanks for letting us know. Are you sure she was having an affair? Me, I am positive. I found their text. Parents were so sorry that she did that. We'll try and get in touch with her after dealing with her family. I moved on to Jack's fiance. I can't remember if I told you all that he is engaged in the first part one. No, it was brought up in some of the comments. I thought this was going to be difficult, that Mia and Jack would have conspired some master plan, but either Mia didn't tell them I found out, or they're just idiots. I sent her a text around 2 p.m. and asked if we could meet for coffee or something by 2:05. She agreed and told me to meet her at some gross hipster coffee shop across from her work at 2:30. I arrived first, ordered my horrible coffee, and waited for a few minutes. She walked and ordered hers and came and joined me. I told her there's no easy way to say what I'm about to tell you, so I'm just going to blurt it out. Jack has been cheating on you with my wife. It's been going on for more than a year. She was obviously shocked, so I then told her I only found out a few days ago. I know I should have told you then, but I had a divorce to get started in my own pity to deal with. She asked how I found out. I told her everything that's in the first post. I then asked if she wanted to see the evidence I gathered and pulled out a binder. She grabbed the binder and skimmed through the messages and pictures and just started to silently cry. I told her she's more than welcome to take the binder, extra copies, if she wanted to confront Jack with it or use it to see if he would lie. She thanked me, stood up, took the binder, and I told her if she needs anything from me to let me know. She nodded her head and walked out, looking very defeated. I know you all told me to just stay sober, keep a level head and whatnot, but my world just came crashing down on my head. I'm going to take this week to sit on my back porch, drink, smoke cigars, and blare music. After this week, I'll stop feeling sorry for myself, get back to my usual schedule. On a more positive note, I've already packed up most of her things, clothes, jewelry, etc. I also threw in our wedding book and every photo that has her in it in the boxes if and when she comes back for her stuff. I don't want her here any longer than she needs to be. Also, before you ask, no, I didn't ruin her clothes other than a few picture frames. Nothing's broken. As of right now, there's nothing else happening. I told everyone I needed to tell. My doctor's appointment is scheduled. My lawyer's hard at work to get me out of this nonsense, and 90% of her things are in boxes. I really don't know what's left if she stays out of my hair. This might be the smoothest divorce ever. Thank you for reading. Advice is always appreciated. Update 2. Hey everyone, I'm sorry I've been missing in action for a while and didn't respond to comments and messages, but I think I've caught up. And now for the update. So since the update, I've been enjoying my pity party, drinking, and more drinking. I'd say this is my first semi-sober moment since I found out about everything and can't really put into words how I feel. I guess numb is an accurate word. In the last update I told you all, I notified everyone, and the only one that didn't respond was Mia's sister, who I was very close to. Well, that night I wrote the update. I had continued my drinking binge after I posted and passed out on my back patio with a bottle and a few beer cans surrounding me and woke up to the smell of breakfast being cooked. My first thought was, oh Christ, Mia came back and thinks that breakfast was going to make up for what she's done. I worked myself up to a rage and threw myself out of the chair ready for a screaming match. But to my surprise, it was Ma's sister. Call her Emma. I stood there for a moment, trying to calm myself back down, but when Emma seen I was awake, she sprinted to me and wrapped her arms around me. She didn't say anything to me. She just took my hand and led me to the table and put a plate in front of me. As I ate, she told me how sorry she was, and that when her sister showed up to her house and just said that we were having problems and it would be fine in a few days, then told me that when I texted her that we were divorcing, she asked Mia if it would be fine. Why is he divorcing you? Apparently Mia just broke down and told Emma everything. I scoffed and said there's no way. She told you everything, and proceeded to tell her all that happened. Emma told me that Mia had said it was a one-time thing and that I was blowing it out of proportion. I told Emma that I have no intention of getting back together with Mia, and if that is why she's here, she's wasting her time, and if she's in contact with Mia, Emma needs to tell her to find a lawyer. She laughed and said she wasn't here for her sister. She was here for me, she told me that of course she'd be there for my sister, but that her and I are friends, and she wouldn't abandon me, especially when I didn't do anything wrong. I stood up and went to her side of the table and just hugged her. I was so worried that all this BS that's going on would ruin her in my friendship, and hearing her say that made me feel so much better. Emma stayed with me for 2 days, guest bedroom, and left this morning as I am preparing to leave for my cabin. I had it before the marriage. Mia can't touch it. I was gathering my hunting and fishing equipment. She asked if she could join me, but I told her as much as I would like that she should probably go check in on her sister. She agreed, hugged me, and left. I am truly grateful to Emma for being there for me. And before any of you say she's into me, she's not. She's also 20, and that's way too young for me. It's just a really great friendship. I almost forgot to say I went to the doctor's, got tested, and the results should be in on Monday. I've reached out to Jack's fiance a few times just to check on her. She tells me she's fine and she doesn't know what to do. I told her if she wants to meet anytime next week so she could vent, I'm more than happy to listen. Thank you all so much for reaching out, and all the praise you've all given. You all have been a light and a truly dark time in my life. To any of you who are going through this as I am, the only thing I can say is keep your head down, focus on what you really want. If it's divorce or if you reconcile, set your goals one at a time. In my case, lawyer, then doctor, and notifying everyone close. Keep it off the internet, though. Also set time aside to get your feelings out. Thank you again. And sorry these updates are always so long. Update 3. In my last post, I told you all about Emma coming to my house and staying for a few days. She left when I was leaving to go hunting at my cabin. Good news, I got a buck, a nice fat 8-pointer. I got him on my first day out there, which I'm very happy about, as it left me the rest of my time to go fishing. I only caught 2, but they were decent size, so I made one my dinner and butchered the other. I spent the rest of my stay at the cabin cleaning my deer and enjoying the views of nature. Other than a drink or 2 a day, I spent my trip sober, as I promised. My drinking was only for last week. Now onto the last few days. I got a call from my doctor and I'm all clean. It's not such a shock as me, and I haven't had much passionate nights in a few months, but all the same, you can never be too sure. I reached out to Jack's fiance, but didn't hear back for some time. She eventually responded back, telling me she's staying with her family right now. She didn't really go into detail much, but her staying with her family, you can only assume, as I do, that means it's not going so well. At least she's with family, safe, and with all the support that she could need. I told her if there is anything I can do, all she has to do is reach out. She asked me to meet and get coffee the following day, which I of course agreed to. The following day, we met at the same gross hipster coffee shop and talked for about 2 hours. We talked about everything that happened with Mia and I. She wanted to know what steps I was taking if I was divorcing or if there was any chance I would reconcile. I told her after someone cheats in my book, that's it, that the amount of selfishness and disrespect it takes to cheat, let alone for a year. She obviously didn't care for me. I asked her what her plan was. She told me she's confused about everything, that everything she thought was truth turned out to be lies. She wasn't sure what her next move should be, if she should move on or if she should forgive him. I told her if you could forgive someone for cheating on you for that amount of time, she's a better person than me. She told me all of her family was telling her that she should forgive him and go on to get married. I told her I was going to be blunt with her and went on to say just because it's what your family wants doesn't mean you need to follow along. Then said Jack obviously doesn't care about marriage and what it all means. He cheated on you, his fiance, with my wife. If that doesn't show you he's not marriage material, I told her she needed to do what she thought was right and not to have anyone other than herself make decision that will affect her life. I told her when I found out, all I could do was think of a way my heart could trick my brain into thinking of some way I can accept it and forgive her, but I just couldn't do it. I also said I only talked to one person, but I had already made my decision and no one could change my mind. I bet when you want to stay with your Family you had a pretty good idea of what you were going to do, but you led to many people in, and they all gave their own take on it. I finished by telling her all she needed to do was to follow her gut, that her brain and heart will always lie to her, but if her gut feels something's off 9 out of 10 times her gut's probably right. She soon after thanked me, and we left each other and went home. The following day, I got a message from my lawyer that Mia had successfully been served at work. I thanked him for all his work, especially in the time frame he's gotten it done. Not long after that, Emma called and told me Mia hasn't left her room all day and she's sobbing in bed. I told her she was served and is probably realizing how bad she messed up. Emma asked me how the cabin was and if I got anything. I told her everything I did and how my time was there. We talked for a moment and hung up. After I prepared myself and my house for my wife's explosion, I figured if there was any time she would, it would be soon. Now that she's been served, so now I am waiting patiently, biding my time. I have Advil on standby for what I can only assume is going to be a bad ache. I told my friend and he agreed. If Mia showed up, he would race over to be a witness just in case all else fails. I'm currently waiting for Hurricane Mia to tear through my house if or when she does. I'll send out another update. Thank you all for reading update. For about an hour or so after I posted last, I was waiting for Mia to show up at the house and go ballistic. I had no real reason she would do anything, but given everything that's happened, I never really knew the women I went around to. All the cameras that I had up and made sure they were working properly, both the ones inside and outside. I called my friend, letting him know that Maya was served today, and if she shows up, he needs to get to my house as soon as he could. I am not going to jail because of this woman. Turns out I was right, because Mia had shown up at the house banging on the door, screaming to let her in. I immediately called my friend and Emma to get here because Mia is beating down my door. She was cursing my name, begging me to let her in, calling me every name in the book, and how I could be so heartless. She's not wrong, because the entire time she was screaming and banging on the door, all I could do was laugh. I then wondered why she didn't just walk, and she still had keys, at least to my knowledge. When my friend showed up, she was still screaming and cursing, so he started to record on his phone and stayed in his truck. But this idiot brought his wife with him, Mia's friend. So she got out and tried to calm her down. She walked up to Mia, putting her arms around her and trying to get her to talk to her. Mia then slapped her across the face, screaming at her to mind her own business. That made my friend, who now has a video of it, to call the police. She continued to scream and curse until the police got there. When they did, she tried so hard to play the victim. One of the 2 officers walked up to her and she started to cry and tell them I hit her and threw her out of the house. My friend and his wife had told the other officer that when they came to the house, she was yelling and banging on the door, so they couldn't confirm that I didn't do what MIA said I had done. After that officer was done talking with my friend and his wife, he came to my door, and when I opened it, Mia said, "There, that's him. He hit me. I want him arrested." He started to put me in cuffs. When I told him I can prove that she's lying to you, all I need is my phone. The officer stopped and told me to show him the view from the outside cameras. After reviewing the video, he apologized for jumping to conclusions and automatically assuming I was the one in the wrong. I told him I didn't fault him, but he then told me that they received 15 calls total from my neighbors, and apparently during Mia's rant, she had screamed out, "He hit me." So the officers had already made their judgment. After having to deal with the police for about a half hour, Mia ended up being put in cuffs and charged with disturbing the peace, public intoxication, and a DUI. As the police took me into the car, Emma showed up and came to me asking what had happened. I showed her the video on my phone of it all. The officer then came up to me to hand me the case number and some other paperwork. Emma starting to ask questions about the charges, so I just went back inside. Emma followed soon after and sat next to me. She told me she left her house for 10 minutes to run to the store, but when she got back, Mia was no longer in the living room, so she thought Mia had gone to bed after she drank too much wine. Emma and I talked for a while, and she asked me if she could stay the night. I said she was welcome anytime. She told me that Mia had to spend the night in jail. I don't know why, but they could bail her out in the morning. She told me that when I went Back inside, she called her parents to let them know what was happening and to see if they could bail me out because Emma doesn't have that kind of money. We had a beer together and soon went to bed. When I woke up in the morning, Emma already left to meet with her parents. I haven't heard from Mia, Emma, or their parents, but I don't think it's a fun conversation. Update 5. I haven't heard from Mia since that night, but my lawyer was contacted by hers letting him know he'll be representing Mia. Finally, we can start this process. I also reached out to Jack's fiance to see if she has any news. On her front, we only texted back and forth, but she told me she has kicked him out of her house and had her father and brother pack up all his thing and drop it off at his house. She told me her dad and brother wanted to beat him, but she asked them not to, and that she just wants to put all this behind her and move on. She thanked me for checking on her and tells me her close friends are there for her when she needs them. I sent her the link to my Reddit page so she can see all the support you all give to me and to her. On Friday, the moment I got off work, I raced home. My plan was to go back to my cabin for the weekend. When I arrived, Emo was in my driveway. She wanted to grab her sister's things and had a list of what my wife expected. I schemed through it, and all but one thing was already in a box or sitting in my garage waiting to be picked up. I told her I'm not transporting or touching anything that's in here. I'm not going to be responsible if Mia wants to claim I destroyed her stuff. I told her I'd pay for a moving company to come and pack and take all her things for her because right now I'm going to my cabin and don't have the time to deal with Mia's crap. She said that would be great and hopes I have fun. She took a box of Mia's clothes and put it in her car. She then turned to me and asked if she could tag along this time. I said, sure, why don't you go back home, drop off the box, and pack a bag for herself. By the time I went to the store and packed up the truck she was pulling up, I locked up my house and took off to the cabin with Emma. The weekend went really well. The last time I was up there, I realized what a gem that place is. It has a beautiful view and is completely secluded, so I don't have to deal with any people. It's a place you can truly breath in and relax. On Monday, I called a moving company, and by today, Tuesday, 3 guys in a big truck pulled up and started loading. I had every box open and recorded as they closed the box and picked it up. I took pictures of all the furniture and recorded as the movers loaded it. I thanked them all for tolerating me and tipped them each an extra $50. I then sent all the recordings and pictures to my lawyer and carried on with my day. The house seems empty, but also clean without all her things here. When I started this process, my lawyer told me not to get rid of anything that could be considered shared, so I put most of the furniture in a storage unit. I've been sleeping in the guest room since she left, so up until I started writing this post, I've been buying all new furniture. I'll most likely be keeping the majority of it in the garage now that I have the space. I won't be keeping the house even if I win it in the divorce. It holds too many now bad memories. Thanks for reading update 6. It's been a while since I've posted. I coach high school baseball, so between getting this divorce done, dealing with my soon-to-be ex, and coaching these kids, I don't have much free time at the moment. Quite a bit has happened, so this might be a long post, so please bear with me. A few days after the movers took her things to Mia, my lawyer received some paperwork saying I damaged her things and demanding I pay her $1,500 or she would be taking me to court over it. My lawyer sent hers all the videos and pictures asking exactly where the damages were that he claimed I made. He told me all this does is tell the judge we'll get how unhinged she is, and it might be a headache now, but when it's time for COR, this will all be perfect evidence. I don't think her lawyer was ready for how meticulous I am and that I will photograph and document everything. When I found out about my wife's affair, I was for some reason pulled to this page and read all of the horror stories about the things these people's former spouses did to them, and I absolutely refuse to be another one of those stories. I've prepared myself for almost every outcome and accusation she could make. I wouldn't put anything past her. At this point, Mia had called me once every other day, but I never pick up. If she leaves a voicemail, I don't bother listening to it. I just send it to my lawyer. Every time I send my lawyer something, he always tells me you are a lawyer's wet dream. You listen to everything I say. You gathered a mountain of evidence on your own. I have yet to have a client that has done so well. Wasn't exaggerating when I said he says that every time, but it also puts a smile on my face every time getting that reassurance from him that I'm doing everything the right thing just makes me feel a little bit better about this whole situation. About 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, my lawyer told me that we have enough evidence to bury her outside of court, and if it fails, it would look good on us for trying, so we set a date a week ago to meet in a neutral lawyer's office. Before we met, he told me no matter what, don't react to anything that Mia might say, and that we do will be recorded for. A judge will read if it goes to court. We arrived in the early morning and went into the office. To my surprise, she was already there waiting with her lawyer. We walked in and the lawyer started greeting each other. Mia and I sat there silently waiting for what was going to happen. Mia's lawyer started by asking what we had to offer. Mine scoffed and said with a mountain of evidence of the infidelity and Mia's inappropriate behavior, after the only thing we'll offer is half of the selling price of the home and half of the savings account. That's more than any judge would award you. Basically what you came into the marriage with, you'll be leaving with. Then he looked directly at Mia and said, if you decide to go to court, I will put every message making you read it all out loud. Then I will put every photo up for all into court to see. But he didn't say that at the time and make you describe in detail what you're doing in each photo. Then I'll bring up your recent charges and play the video that was taken that night. Mia started to tear up, looking at me, asking if there was anything she could do to make this right. I said, you've been cheating on me since before our wedding. All I can prove is a few weeks before the wedding, but I expect it was much longer. There is nothing at all you could possibly do to make me forget or forgive you for what you've done. Sign the papers. It's more than you deserve, and I want to be done with this whole sham you created. She cried obnoxiously for 15 minutes, having to excuse herself to the restroom. When she returned, she was still in tears, but signed the papers and walked out. Not long after, so in about a month, everything will be filed, and all I'll have left to do is sell the house. I want to thank you all for reading and all of the advice you've given. I don't see anything else happening, but I could be wrong, and if it does, I'll let you know. But this will probably be my last post. So again, thank you all. I hope what's happened to me has helped at least one person out there.